Star Trek the Motion Picture was released in December of 1979 and kicked off a decades-long run of theatrical films for the Star Trek brand. Directed by veteran filmmaker Robert Wise, it's one of the more polarizing of the original series films. Some love it, some hate it, but few can deny its key place in Trek lore. After a deadly energy cloud of unknown origin is discovered on a collision course with Earth, Kirk and the original crew must depart in the newly refitted Enterprise to investigate the threat. After reaching the cloud, they discover a massive mechanical entity named V'Ger, which has returned to Earth in an attempt to communicate with its creator. Kirk and crew must discover a way to do so before the entity destroys all life as we know it. The story of the film's creation is as massive as V'Ger itself. Many believe that it was given the green light as an answer to the unexpected success of Star Wars, which brought around a renewed interest in space and science fiction. However, Gene Roddenberry had been given the green light to develop a feature-length Star Trek film as early as 1975, 2 years before Star Wars was released. His original first draft was titled The God Thing and featured Kirk and crew taking the Enterprise on a mission to confront a godlike entity on a collision course with Earth. Though differing greatly from the final product, some elements of this treatment would eventually make it into the final film. Studio executives were unhappy with the treatment and decided to pump the brakes. They commissioned other writers to pitch ideas, including veterans like Ray Bradbury, Harlan Ellison, and Theodore Sturgeon. Eventually, the job went to British screenwriters Chris Bryant and Alan Scott, who turned in a treatment for a story they called Planet of the Titans, which featured Kirk and crew facing off against a race of beings thought to be the Titans of ancient myth. The project never made it past the script phase and was eventually canceled. Feeling that the development of a feature film was proving to be a tough nut to crack, producers suggested to Roddenberry that the project would work better if they went back to its roots and it was conceived as a weekly TV series. Roddenberry agreed and began development work on the series titled Star Trek Phase 2. Roddenberry wrote the treatment for the pilot episode with veteran scribe Alan Dean Foster. The story was titled In Thy Image and featured a NASA probe returning to Earth after having gained sentience. When the script was turned in to executives, it was deemed feature film worthy. The recent success of Close Encounters of the Third Kind proved to them that the popularity of Star Wars could be duplicated. Production on Phase 2 was scrapped, with the resources being shifted to the creation of the feature film. Opening in the US and Canada on December 7, 1979, the film got mixed reviews but was considered a box office success, taking in more money than any other Star Trek film in the franchise, a string that would run for 3 decades and wouldn't be broken until the release of the 2009 reboot by J.J. Abrams. This has the distinction of being the only Star Trek movie that I didn't see in the theater during its initial run. I was too young at the time and would later catch it on home video. Over the years, many have debated its merits. Some consider the pacing too slow and the plot void of the sort of action-adventure elements that would come to define the franchise in later installments. Personally, I've never felt that way. Even as a young person watching this as a pan-and-scan VHS version on the small screen, I never considered it to be boring or worthy of the alleged even number curse. I always appreciated how all of the key characters from the show were there in the same roles, doing the same thing that they always do best. Kirk's desire to return to action after having been relegated to an administrative role resonated with me even at an early age. And Spock's quest to find himself among the stars, even appearing to go rogue at times, has always felt like a compelling character development moment for him that I've genuinely appreciated. However, I do understand some of the criticism that this film has faced over the years. It's a different animal than the series of films that came later, and for that reason it sort of stands alone. I think this has a lot to do with the fact that a generation of viewers grew up watching this on TV rather than on the big screen as it was intended. As I mentioned, I was too young to see it in theaters when it came out. However, I was lucky enough to catch it on a theatrical re-release a few years ago. For those who haven't had the chance, let me tell you, seeing it on the big screen is a completely different experience. After that viewing, I gained a whole new appreciation for this film. It's clear to me now that it was designed to be seen on the big screen. The scope, the production design, the score, these things were made for the biggest viewing experience possible. I imagine that for some, something was lost in translation when it was scaled down for TV viewing, and I can see why that would have an effect on their opinion. This is a work of cinema, not television, and it's in the cinema with the biggest screen possible where it truly shines. What are your thoughts on Star Trek the Motion Picture? Does it deserve its reputation as one of the weaker of the original series films? Let me know what you think. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and until the next time, have a good one.